We've got major reports to discuss here on New York Knicks Now by Chat Sports as the trade rumors surrounding this basketball team are officially on fire. We'll break that down coming up in a second. But a programming alert. We're going to be live on the channel 30 minutes before tip-off tomorrow as the Knicks open up their preseason against the Philadelphia 76ers. So if you love the Knicks and you want to see what the best Knicks watch party on YouTube is, subscribe, turn those notifications on, and I'll see you tomorrow morning. This is New York Knicks Now by Chat Sports. I am your host, Marshall Green. Let's go. Trade rumors surrounding this basketball team are starting to heat up. As we know, the New York Knicks have to make a trade if they want to keep one of the veterans that they signed to training camp deals on the active roster. And as James L. Edwards of The Athletic is reporting, it sounds like a deal could be on the horizon. Saying, for basketball has been dribbled in front of the public, the Knicks have one roster spot open with veterans Landry Shamet, Malcolm Brogdon, and Garrison Matthews, all of whom are on guaranteed contracts, the frontrunners to fill it. However, per league sources, New York is leaning towards keeping two of the aforementioned vets, with Shamet and Brogdon leading the way. In order to keep two veterans, though, the Knicks must make a trade. And we've been telling you guys this for a couple of weeks now. This is what we expect, but it's starting to heat up across the New York Knicks landscape. The Knicks have room for one veteran minimum deal unless they go and make a trade by trading someone away off this roster and getting maybe cash considerations or future draft picks back. So if you are planning on keeping Malcolm Brogdon and Landry Shamet, who are the Knicks going to look to trade? I would be looking at some of the young players, guys like Tyler Kolek, maybe someone like Pacome Dadiet, or maybe even someone like Ariel Hukporti. The conversation across the association is the Knicks may lean towards trading Dadiet. Edwards wrote this, saying, per multiple league sources, the Knicks have had conversations with teams about Pacome Dadiet. The 20-year-old Frenchman is the New York Knicks' most intriguing prospect, even if he still has a way to be a regular contributor. For what it's worth, I've also heard Dadiet has had a good summer behind the scenes and has made it harder for New York to potentially trade him. I have a lot of thoughts about the Knicks moving on from Pacome Dadiet, but the first thing is I don't love this. And this is a multi-layered reasoning for why I'm not the biggest fan of this. So let's start with this one. It is tough to build a consistent winner in the NBA when you just ignore the first round of the NBA draft like the Knicks have done over the last couple of years. It makes it that much more harder to build a consistent winner when you ignore the first round of the NBA draft and you are an extremely high-priced team. The New York Knicks are right up against that second apron. They're actually hard-capped at that first apron. They cannot exceed it. And the Knicks roster isn't going to be getting cheaper anytime soon. And the way to build rosters that are top-heavy is by having hits in the NBA draft, because those players are young and cheap and cost-controlled. And ideally, you're getting more production than you are paying for. And if the Knicks don't have cheap young contributors, it's going to be tough to build a long stretch of winning, even though you have already done that. But this is going to catch up to you. You do not have any players on the roster since the 2022 NBA draft in the first round if you do end up trading Pacome Dadiet. You made the moves in 2022 to make cap space for Jalen Brunson. You didn't make a pick in 2023. You didn't make a pick in 2024. I believe this was a Josh Hart trade that you made. Then you took Pacome Dadiet. Now it sounds like you might trade him, and you didn't make a first round pick last year. So I don't love the way the Knicks are going about constructing this roster. And I also think it's a little bit backwards to trade a former first-round pick who's entering his second year in the NBA that's just 20 years old to make a roster spot be open for a 28-year-old Landry Shamet. Not to say I don't think Shamet is an impactful player. I wanted him to be that veteran minimum deal before they signed Malcolm Brogdon because I didn't think that would actually happen. Where is Landry Shamet going to play? That's my question. So I don't love the ignoring of the first round the Knicks have been doing. I don't love the idea of trading a 28-year-old or trading a 20-year-old first-round pick to add a 28-year-old on the team, especially when there may not even be minutes for Landry Shamet to get. Brunson's playing a lot of minutes. Bridges, OG, Towns, Robinson, Josh Hart. That's 6 players playing a lot of minutes. Then Miles McBride is 7. Jordan Clarkson is 8. Gershon Yabusele is 9. You're also going to have Malcolm Brogdon. That's 10. Then there's Ariel Hukporti. That's 11. Are the Knicks going to go 12 deep this year? No, that's not going to happen. I'm not saying to ignore depth and don't make your team as deep as possible. But for the 12th spot in the rotation, you're going to sacrifice a 20-year-old kid who you liked enough in the first round to draft him. You're going to move him to add a veteran and Shamet for him not to play all that much? Like, I don't know. I'm having a hard time wrapping my mind around this one. So I need you to help me out in the comment section. If you could keep one of these 2 players, who would it be? Is it Dadiet? Is it Landry Shamet? Let me know. I got a couple more thoughts, and we also have James L. Edwards talking about Tyler Kolek as well as Ariel Hukporti as trade pieces. We'll touch on that in a second. But this New York Knicks hat, it is on sale. Get your Knicks hat today. It was $32. Now it's $25. Just go to this link, chatsports.com/NYK hat /. Don't forget that / on the end. chatsports.com/NYK hat / Mitchell and Ness. Good stuff. Get your hat today. Also, if you want to read the full James L. Edwards article, I have linked it down in the comments and the description. He wrote this as well, saying, if New York were going to move on from one of its youngsters, Dadiet would be the most likely to get a worthwhile return. So I get it from that standpoint. You want to be able to, if you're shipping something off, get something back that's worthwhile. I just don't see how it would be anything more than maybe a second-round pick or a handful of second-round picks. I don't think anyone is giving up a first-round pick for Pacome Dadiet. I also don't think that they're going to trade Miles McBride. There was some conversation that there were teams calling the Knicks about Miles McBride, but at this point, according to James L. Edwards, says, I don't think New York will move McBride, and I don't think they should for a long list of reasons, mainly for what I said earlier. You need cheap contributors. That's exactly what he is. So if it's not McBride and it's not Dadiet, it might just be Tyler Kolek. Edwards wrote this, saying Kolek, who's 24, might be the most obvious candidate to move on from a roster construction standpoint. But in talking to some teams around the league, I'm not sure there's much, if any, value there at this point. Look, I don't know what you're going to get back from Tyler Kolek, but I do think with the logjam you have now at that point guard spot with Brunson, Brogdon, as well as Jordan Clarkson and Miles McBride able to slide over there if need be, there's just not going to be a lot of minutes for the 24-year-old second-year player Adam Marquette. And I think about it like this. Long term, I don't really see a role for him here either. Jalen Brunson's going to play 35 minutes per game. And Tyler Kolek can't play next to Jalen Brunson. So are we just going to keep Tyler Kolek on the team long-term wise to literally be the backup quarterback to Jalen Brunson for 10, 8, 9 minutes per game? Could make some sense, but I think ideally you'd want a backup point guard that could play with and without Jalen Brunson. So if you can't trade Kolek, is it Ariel Hukporti? Doesn't sound like it. Edwards saying, and talking to some teams around the NBA, there just doesn't appear to be much, if any, trade value there right now. And I don't really want the Knicks to trade Hukporti. I think there's some juice there. I think there is some potential there for him to grow into a backup big in this league as he is still just 24 years old. So, it doesn't really add up. Yeah, you got your starting five. We talked about how deep this team is with McBride, Clarkson, Hart, Yabusele, Huckporty, and Brogdon all expect to be a part of the rotation. So why are we sacrificing the future for really unnecessary depth at this point? Like, I get it. We like Shamet. He plays defense. He could shoot. He does the little things. But is the little boost that Shamet gives you right now worth sacrificing potentially the future of a Pacome Dadiet? I'm not so sure about that one. I can't wait, though. Basketball starts tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be live on the channel for a New York Knicks watch party. So if you love the Knicks, subscribe, and let's go.